Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mayor Bab,
Present.
Vice Mayor Murphy,
Present.
Commissioner Bolden,
Present.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Present.
Commissioner Perez,
Here.
City Manager,
Here.
City Attorney,
Here.
Acting City Clerk is present.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, staff, and most importantly, thank all of our residents for being here this afternoon to participate and observe and witness our City Commission meeting of Tuesday, October 25th, 1922. At this time, we will go through the agenda as presented, as given. First order of the business is the deletions, additions, and approve of the agenda item. City Manager, this time, do we have in addition to the agenda?
Yes, sir. We have a proclamation for Linda Hendricks Moss. We have a community and economic development resolution 2022 for Martin Luther King contract, and that's it, sir.
Thank you, sir. City Commission, having had the agenda, provided an update with a proclamation for Linda Moss and a resolution 2022 added to the agenda. What is your pleasure?
Mayor, I move that we would accept the agenda with the add-on addition to proclamation of Linda Moss and also Resolution 2022-54.
Second.
It has been moved by Vice Mayor Mervin and properly seconded by Commissioner Gonzalez for the adoption of the agenda with the two said add-on, one proclamation and one resolution. Call for questions. Hearing none, are you ready for a vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Vice Mayor Murphy,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Commissioner Bolden,
Yes.
Commissioner Perez, Mayor Bab.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commissioners. Motion passed by unanimous vote. Now we'll move to the public comments, public service announcement, presentation, proclamation. This section of our agenda allows for our community to provide comments from the public. Each comment shall be each speaker shall be given 3 minutes, please. City Clerk, at this time, do we have any citizen comments card completed?
Yes, sir, we have two. The first one is Mr. Sam McKinstry.
Good afternoon, or evening, good afternoon, wherever you're at in the state. I've got 5 questions real quick, and they are pertaining to current contractual negotiations, so it should be readily available. And I will expect, pursuant to state statute 119, an answer by close of business tomorrow in writing. Question number 1, DEP Marina repairs status. I want to know the who, what, when, and why of it all. All right. I want to know the ball players' insurance policy. I want to know if they have a fire policy, which is required in the contract. I want to know, let's see, put glasses on, I can read a little better. I want to know if they have PIP as well, because that's $200,000 to $300,000. I want to know who it's with, and I want to know the policy number. Utilities for the Marina Campground Complex. Who's paying the lights, the water bill, and every bit of the utilities since October 27th, 2020. I want to know about the deposit for the restaurant. $20,000. Was it paid? When was it paid? I want the check number. I want the account it went to with the city. Question number 5, the final one. Deck inspection. Who inspected the deck at the Marina restaurant? What was the company's name? Who was the actual person to sign off on the contract? I want his name, or their name, her name, him name, whoever's name. I want the name, and I want it by close of business tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next card is from Ms. Jennifer Showalter.
Hi, I'm Jen Showalter from Wellington, Florida, and I am a mom of 3, and I just want to say I'm really grateful for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. It's my 25th wedding anniversary. My husband's with me. Because I've got a lot of serious concerns with you that directly affect the citizens of Pahokee and the students. First is the State Board of Education, the letter signed by Tim Hay, Director of the Office of Safe Schools. It stated that there was a grand jury investigation that found serious issues regarding to our school board, and it identified failures including, quote, refusal or failure to follow the rules, the mandates of school-related safety laws, such as the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School Public Safety Act, resulted in unnecessary and avoidable risk to students. School officials violate and continue to violate state law by systematically underreporting incidents of criminal activity to the Florida Department of Education. The district wasted a significant amount of taxpayer dollars by hiring a private security firm which was in violation of the state law. And the list goes on. Second, the school board posted this. It's their rules that they have for the citizens. And it says, if you get out of your seat for any reason other than to speak at the podium, go to the bathroom, or leave the meeting, you are escorted off the property by police. And I was personally there when I saw a man with a bad back get choked, hold, and taken out by police. And I've seen a lot. I've been speaking at the school board meetings for about 2.5 years. And this also applies if you clap too loud or too long or move to a different seat. And that's not American. That's not how we treat our constituents. And third is our academics. And I'm a research geek. I like facts and figures. As I said, I'm a mom of 3. My daughter was valedictorian at Wellington High School this past year. She's off to college. I have a junior in the system in marching band, and I have a younger son who we had to remove for a lot of bullying that was happening. But the academics, 13 out of the top 20 high schools failed their reading proficiency. 14 out of the top 20 failed their math proficiency, but we have an A graduation rate. And I talked to a lot of teachers. Some of my best friends are teachers in the system, and they corroborated with what I found, that they were being forced to move the kids through that weren't ready to move through. And that's a grave disservice to our students. They're not going to be ready for college, career, or trade. I talked to a teacher here locally who stated the other week that the majority of her students had little to no reading comprehension. And this is with a $5 billion budget. Fourth, I'll go into that in a second. But we also need to have after-school programs in sports, and we're not having that. As a band mom, I totally appreciate the fact that we need, music, and my daughter was also in sports. So anyway, I have more information for you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Additional.
Okay. Let's include our comments from our public. At this time, we'll move and proceed with our agenda. The next would be a presentation, proclamation, for Linda Moss, City Attorney.
This is a proclamation, expression of sympathy for Linda Hendricks Moss. Whereas on May the 21st, 1954, Linda Hendricks Moss was lovingly chosen shortly after her birth in New Orleans in the United Methodist Children's Home by her parents, the late Herman and Marie Hendricks. And whereas Linda was raised in Pahokee, Florida, and attended Pahokee High School in 1972, where she graduated in the top 5% of her class. She studied at the Florida Southern College and returned home to assist her parents in running one of Pahokee's most iconic businesses, Hendricks Hardware. And whereas in 1974, Linda married the love of her life, Donald Moss. Their love begot 5 children, 5 grandchildren, and Linda and Donald worked in a family business in Moss Towing and Transportation. Later, the two purchased the family business and created one of the most successful towing and transportation companies in Florida. The company is still owned and operated by their daughters, and whereas Linda was raised to be both a Southern lady and a successful businesswoman, she followed her parents lead, and she was a devoted servant through the United Methodist Church, both locally and statewide. She was the sole organist for the Pahokee First United Methodist Church for 53 years and held many positions of leadership there. And whereas Linda was described as a person who was accepting of the lemons of life threw at her and was very creative and talented in making lemonade out of them. And whereas she was a lady of many and varied interests and will be remembered as a champion of the Glades region who worked tirelessly to guard and improve the unique way of life. Now, therefore, I, Keith W. Babb Jr., Mayor of the City of Pahokee, and on behalf of the City Commission, do hereby extend our sincerest condolences to the family and friends of Linda Hendricks Moss, done this day, October the 25th, 2022. Mayor Keith W. Babb Jr. and the entire City Commission.
Thank you, Madam City Attorney. City Commission, at this time, I would self a motion and a second for the adoption of the proclamations.
Mayor, I move that we would adopt the proclamation with expression of sympathy for Linda Hendrick Moss.
It has been moved by Vice Mayor Mervin and properly second by Commissioner Gonzalez for the acceptance of the proclamation for Linda Moss. Call for questions. Hearing none, are you ready for a vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Vice Mayor Mervin,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Commissioner Bowden,
Yes.
Commissioner Perez, Mayor Babb.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commissioners. Motion passed by unanimous vote. Just for commission and public information, Mrs. Moss' visitation would be on Friday, the 28th, from 6 to 8, and services will be Saturday, the 29th, at 10 a.m. And this will be held at the United Methodist Church, First United Methodist Church in Pahokee. Thank you. We did have a add-on resolution, but we're gonna take that under the resolution section in our agenda. The next order of business would be old business in the discussion of existing activity or previously held events.
This is going to be our city projects. Miss Peggy. Let me see where she's at there.
Okay. And while you're checking, we did have a event last week, the Hispanic Business Forum at the marina that was well attended, and I think all the commissioners were there also. So I thought that was a great event. We had an opportunity to hear from our local businesses that some of their needs, concerns, and their successes and challenges. So I thought it was a great event all over. Just for a point of order, if it's okay with the commission, what we would like to do, at least as the presiding chair, I'd like to move this meeting forward, and at some time in the meeting, we want to come back to this item so we get a update on our events.
Mayor Babb, did we miss consent agenda? F.
We haven't reached there yet. Oh, okay, we jumped to old business, you're right. Yes, thank you. Hearing no objection, we're going to move on with our agenda as presented. The next item on the agenda would be the consent agenda, the October 11, 2022 regular meeting minutes. With your pleasure, I entertain a motion, a second for the acceptance or rejection.
Come on, guys. October 11th.
11th. Regular scheduled meeting.
Mayor, I motion that we will accept the consent agenda, October 11th, 2022, regular meeting minutes.
It has been moved by Vice Mayor Mervin and properly seconded by Commissioner Bolden for the acceptance and adoption of the regular scheduled meeting of October 11, 2022. Call for questions. Hearing none, are you ready for a vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Vice Mayor Mervin,
Yes.
Commissioner Bolden, Commissioner Bolden,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Commissioner Perez,
On consent agenda, I have September 27. I don't know where you guys.
It's right here. Right here, October 11th,
What page is it?
5. Let me see.
On page 5.
That's it. October 11th.
Where's consent agenda?
It says it's on your, look on your agenda form, F.
Yeah, it says September 27.
Right here.
Regular meeting.
F, consent agenda.
F.
Turn to your first page,
Yeah.
this page,
She's talking about the stuff referring to this. She don't see that it's up there. She's referring.
the first page.
Oh, she's reading in the,
She's reading it up there.
just look in the top left-hand corner, ma'am.
The first page.
No, the
Sarah,
paper you just
this
had.
page, yeah. Now go to F.
Always strikes the nice.
She don't see consent agenda right here. It's on F.
See, you seeing that part, but this is from the meeting right here, October 11th.
So
This
what,
is just the minutes that you're seeing. So this is the minutes, which was on top of here.
so what are we voting on?
We're voting on those minutes. It's called a consent agenda item because we're not pulling it for any discussion, so it's more of a preliminary matter. If there are some items on there you felt was incorrect or needed to be changed, then you would move to have it pulled to the regular agenda. So we're voting on this particular meeting minutes of October 11th. And most commissions now add their prior agenda, the previous agenda, to the consent agenda item, so item can be moved.
I'm still kind of lost.
Okay. What we're doing, this is an October 11 agenda, meeting minutes. That's what we're approving, the minutes.
The minutes,
Right.
the consent agenda that I have, it says September 27, regular meeting minutes.
Right, and that's what we're approving.
All right. Yes.
Okay.
Mayor Bab,
Yes. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commissioners. Motion passed by unanimous vote. Now we'll move to our old business. And we talked about that. Mrs. Boulay is not here at this moment, so we're gonna move past that. Next is the public hearing. We have ordinance 2022-03. This is a first reading, city attorney.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Pahokee, Florida, repealing and replacing Article 2, Section 2-26, entitled City Commission Meetings Generally, and 2-29, entitled Order of Business, renumbering and reordering as necessary, providing for an effective date.
Thank you, City Attorney. City Manager, could you give us a brief explanation of ordinance 2022?
Yes, sir. This is an ordinance that came to us in May and was completed as 2022-02. In this, all we were doing was correcting where a couple items were, well, one item was missed totally, which was in the order of business, which is, just getting to the page there, sorry. On your page 6, on the inside of here, or page 16, item O, future agenda items of commissioners if needed, was added. Also on page 15, under additions of emergency basis from city manager, that section there was added. Those were that, and then there was a correction of the minutes at 6:05. Was it minutes or comments? What was it for the 6:05?
The comments to stop receiving comments at 6:05.
To start receiving comments
To stop.
in the
To stop.
body should stop by 6:05.
Thank you. City Commission, having had resolution, ordinance, 2022-03, read into the minutes by our city attorney and properly explained by our city manager, I would now open a hearing on ordinance 2022-03. Are there anyone in the audience wish to speak on this ordinance? This is the first reading. Hearing no one, I would close the public hearing. City Commission, having had the ordinance properly read into our minutes by our city attorney, properly explained by our city manager, what is your pleasure?
Mayor Bab, I move to accept ordinance number 2022-03.
Second.
It has been moved by Commissioner Bolden and properly seconded by Vice Mayor Mervin for the adoption on first reading of ordinance 2022-03. Call for questions.
One question, what was the time you said that for the comment part? You said it's 6 and no later than 6:05?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So by that being said, then our meetings need to start right at 6.
Okay.
Because if we put in the comment, I know if we come, they'll still get their time. But I'm just saying, but if you putting it in the,
Yeah. I think, to be honest, at our last discussion we had on it, I thought we gave a little more time, maybe addition of 5 minutes, so that the residents could get their comments card in. The key is, as long as it's in prior to, the comments being started. Also, the time for the meeting itself states it must be started at 6 o'clock, and that's need to have some leeway or soon after or close to it possible. We try to give at least a grace period of 5 minutes so we can get a meeting started if we don't have a quorum, or if someone is coming a little late or running a little late. So, but it's not etched in stone, but it is part of the ordinance, the 6:05 and then the 6 o'clock start time on the minutes, on the meetings. So if we need to adjust that, or I don't know if it need to be officially adjusted or not.
If I may, you could have some language that says to begin no later than, and I think before you actually had 6:30, and then you all moved it to 6. So if you had no later than and it was noticed for 6, then you're fine. But no later than 6:30, with comments being no later than 5 minutes from the beginning of the meeting, as opposed to 6:05. Because if you started, sometime later, then you want to give people an opportunity to comment.
that makes sense.
think it would be a consensus to agree on those changes. We could just include that in the language of the ordinance.
I have a question. This, ordinance 2022-03, that's this one that you're trying to pass today? Is this 2022-03?
Yes, ma'am. Well, it's just first reading, then you got to bring it back for the second and final.
Okay, this is the same ordinance 2019-02. It's the same 2019-02. And it's my belief that we made changes to it during the last term, that when we had the majority, we made changes to this ordinance, which I did not see it in the Muni Code. And one of the concerns that I have, it says that on the agenda, that you have to have the majority in order to be able to place something on the agenda. To me, that's not democracy, because we happen to be the minority, and in this case, it's going to be a year and a half that we won't be able to place anything on the agenda. I think any one of us should be able to place an item on the agenda. That's one of the things, one of my concerns. Also, on the additions of emergency basis from city manager, I mean, like, who decides the state of emergency? Is it an emergency or a state of emergency? And I would like to know who placed this item on the agenda. No answers? I'm a commissioner, I'm seeking answers.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
So there was a mistake made at the prior meeting. First of all, the ordinance that you're talking about that was passed, I don't know, a couple of years ago, maybe, was changed earlier this year. So that one was already changed. But when it was changed, there was a mistake found where it left off, as the manager reported when he was describing the item, it left off future agenda items. And it also left off I think one other thing, and then a change was made to try to make it better. So one of the things that when you talk about the emergency issue, the idea is that the manager will always have, whenever possible, items to you on a regular agenda. But this ordinance allows, if the manager has an emergency or an item that's going to come forward that deserves your immediate attention, he can still put items on. Now, he can put items on anytime. That's any manager. Generally, that's their right, because they want to bring items to you that are going to be relevant. So if we look at this agenda, for instance, one of the issues that you're going to be considering a little bit later is Resolution 2022-54. And this is something that the state sent the manager saying, hey, we want to give you funding, but you're going to have this agreement executed immediately. So this was already after the agenda had been published, but the manager wanted to get this item to you as soon as possible so that you can benefit from the funding that the state wants to give you immediately. So this item is sort of an emergency issue that's coming to you for your consideration tonight. So they would be items like this good example. But for the most part, the attempt is going to be to give you items, with the regular agenda, to not have, when you don't have things that just come up on an agenda, where the public is made aware and the public has time to come if they wanted to come, and you don't have meetings that are not organized, that helps everybody. So this is not some issue that's going against anybody or for anybody. Future agenda items is something that will, protect everybody. And I've seen, just as an aside, and I'm probably going a little bit too far, but I've seen many times where either you or you in particular, I won't bring anybody else into this, you propose something and it's gone on and it's been voted on as a future agenda item. So I don't think that there is any intent on the part of this commission that I've seen, at least, where anybody's tried to bar any commissioner from being heard on something that they think is a good idea. But the majority vote for this has been something that you've been doing for years now, with the exception of maybe a few months back last year, but you have been doing it for a few years, and it had created more order for your meetings and I think more public transparency. So with that, I'll be quiet.
Well, I think all that sounded very good, but it still did not answer my question. First of all, that $250,000 we've had for a while, so that's not an emergency. That's not an emergency. You cannot wait till the last minute and come here and try to push the agenda because it's an emergency. We've had that $250,000.
Well, the state said that they needed, through the mayor, the state said they needed it signed right away. And so
Yeah.
the letter just came in. I'm sure, I don't know if he has it as a part of the.
It came in because it's coming to, it needs to be executed.
Well,
The deadline
that-
is December 31st, 2023.
Well, the manager received a letter that I actually saw, and I think they were looking for it sooner than the December. But Mr. Manager, you may want to explain that.
So, as usual, I'm ready for you, but
You're gonna show me a letter that says that it's time to execute it because you've had it for a year and no activity's being done. I agree that now it's done and it needs to move up, but it's not an emergency. If it had been done when it was supposed to have been done. And this is gonna happen more and more because we got grants that are either getting ready to expire or have been extended. They're gonna be expired and they're gonna be coming in as an emergency. This is a practice that's been done in the prior administration. This is my thing. We talk about moving forward. In order to move forward, we need to abstain from what we've done in the past that hasn't worked out, that hasn't been done correctly.
So-
If we're gonna move forward, let's do it the correct way.
so can we move forward? And when that item comes up, I'll explain it then, because we're right in the middle of ordinance 2022-03.
And that's the one that I'm talking about.
But through the
No.
mayor, nothing would prevent you prior to this ordinance from having the manager just come and bring an item. Nothing prevents that. It didn't even require an emergency. So this actually gives more transparency to the public because it requires the manager, it requires the manager to make sure that he is better prepared to give things to you all. So that's why the higher standard is there. So he has to bring things that are going to be thoughtful. He knows that, this is something that has to be acted on immediately. But before this, he didn't have to do any of that. Before this ordinance, he could have just brought it to you tonight and there would have been no discussion about it. It just would have been an added on item for the agenda. So nothing's being taken away here is what I'm trying to express. Nothing. You're not losing anything. Nobody's doing anything wrong. There's nothing improper. This gives more transparency to the public.
If I may. On item C that she's referring to, the C agenda, I can clearly see that, and everybody can clearly read that, what it says, that it would take the majority of the commission to vote on an item to be placed on an agenda. Now, for those watching this video, watching this live, can you please put that in layman's terms?
It's a future agenda item. It's what you had before. It's what was in place even before you came. It was what was in
That
place.
would change.
Yeah, it's a few.
That
It
would
means
change it.
it,
You
so
change
so
it
what so what would have to happen is for items to be put on the agenda, it would require, like had been done before you, has been done since you've been here. It was accidentally taken out when it was done before, but the intent was that it was supposed to be in, and Mr. Lucas didn't realize it until later, and then now we're bringing it back to make the correction, so.
For example, if a citizen, one of our constituents come up to us, each
It
individually.
was not accidentally taken out. We
Hold on.
took it out.
We took it out?
Yes,
No.
we took it out. We voted on it. Yes.
No, it was, you know, what?
Yes, it was.
No, what actually happened was it was in there, and Mr. Lucas was reading some things into the record that he believed would make it better. But it passed on first reading with it as it is tonight, and it was a mistake that was made. And so when we realized it, we brought the issue back so it can be corrected. Now, you still have the opportunity to vote, so if you all voted out tonight, you can still do that. But what we were trying to do was to make the correction, bring it forward for your consideration, and it helps with having orderly meetings. So,
What I was trying to say is, okay, somebody comes up to us to bring something up for them and add it to the agenda. If three, no matter who, which three, vote and say no, that person's gonna be shut out. They won't be heard, correct? That's what it means, basically, that's what it means, right?
no, that's not what it means, because what it means is that a majority vote, as all of your votes are by a majority vote. Every vote that you take as a commissioner is by a majority vote. So it's no different than any other vote that you take on any other issue. This just happens to be under a future agenda items, part of the agenda, which had been the practice before you two were elected, had been the practice even after you had been elected, and now it's before you again for consideration. And so again, if you don't have a majority voting for this, then it will go back to what it was before.
If you don't mind, could you please read the first sentence on C agenda?
I don't know where you're reading from, but I can tell you that I know you're talking about future agenda items, correct?
No.
That's what you're talking about, right? So for any item that you vote on, it has to be passed by a majority vote. For any item, whether it's this item or any other item.
We voted on that item, but now
Yeah,
put it
I'm not.
on the agenda. It's two different
No, I'm
things.
not. You can read it out loud.
You always
Yeah.
twist everything. You
Okay.
always twist everything. Everything that we vote on, you always twist it.
Yeah.
You talk for an hour, you twist it, and then all of a sudden, you talk and talk and talk, but at the end, you don't answer the question.
It says
It makes
agenda.
no sense at all.
It says agenda.
Yes, it says agenda.
It says agenda, so, yeah, you vote.
We cannot place it on the agenda.
So what's incorrect about what I said?
We
Why don't you-
vote, after it's already on the agenda, we vote to pass it or not, but not whether we could put one on the agenda or not.
What is
Hold
what
on.
is incorrect about what I said? You still haven't told me.
Have you answered my questions?
It's-
Because you
the
talked
language
for an
is-
hour. This
City
is
Attorney.
2019-02,
The language is clear.
And you are determined to pass this 2019-02.
I don't know what you're
For
talking
what
about.
reason,
This is
I
not,
have no idea.
this is a
Then
different,
Who put it?
it's a different-
Who put it to pass it? If it's already there, who added it to pass it again?
I think we just walked you through how we saw that was a
Who-
mistake.
Who was the person responsible for putting it on the,
Hold on,
on
Miss-
the
Commissioner
agenda?
Perez, Commissioner Perez, please. Did I not send you an email to send me everything via email to explain what this says? You refused 3 times. 3 times.
Well, first
And
of
I
all,
asked you, this is coming
first
from
of all,
our
you
city.
did not say that. What you wrote me was to give you a red line of an item, which I got later in
229.
the day, and the staff will tell you that you are sending email to an email address that I have not been using. So when the manager saw it, he sent it to the email that I am using, and by that time I was on my way here. But I can tell you where the changes are. We've already. He said he met with you too.
As
So-
one of your
no.
bosses,
Yeah.
you're refusing to take an order to read
Yeah.
the first line.
Well,
and you're being the
you
city
can
attorney.
read it if you'd like to
I
read
would like
it.
for you to come out as our city attorney.
You can read it if
Why
you'd
are
like
you
to read it.
refusing?
I'm not refusing
Because you know what
anything.
we're
It's
saying is
it's
true.
clear.
Because you know what we're saying
What
is
are you
true.
What are you saying?
That
You
anytime we
you
wanna
all are
add an
sitting here
agenda-
trying to make it look like
No,
something sinister
it's
is going
right
on, and it's
here.
ridiculous.
Why don't you read it?
Mayor
out loud?
Bear, point of order. Mayor Bear.
We have had an opportunity to ask questions. This is a first reading. Commission have the right to reject it or accept it, as we always do. So we're going to move forward. Are there any additional questions? Hearing none, are you ready for a vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Bolden?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mervin?
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
No.
Commissioner Perez?
No.
Mayor Bab?
Yes. Motion passed by a majority, 3-2 vote. Now we'll move to the next resolution, which is Resolution 2022-52. City Attorney.
Fifty-one, isn't it?
51? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
Resolution 2022-51, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pahokee, Florida, for approval of change order number 13 to Resolution 2016-20 pertaining to Palm Beach County's interlocal agreement with the City of Pahokee and Exhibit A of the coordination of road and utility construction for Barfield Highway Reconstruction Project as set forth in Exhibit A, providing for an effective date.
Thank you, City Attorney, City Manager. Could you give us a brief explanation of Resolution 2022-51?
Yes, sir. Barfield Highway Change Order 13 is for Barfield Highway Reconstruction. The change order is compensation to Rosso Site Development for the additional exploratory work for the existing sanitary sewer laterals. Rosso is entitled to 100% of the $5,395.01 that it has performed and completed. The change order would take one additional day to be granted. Staff recommendation is to approve change order number 13 under resolution 2022-51.
Thank you, City Manager. City Commission, having had Resolution 2022-51 properly read into the minutes by our City Attorney, properly explained by our City Manager. What is your pleasure?
Mayor, I motion that we will accept Resolution 2022-51.
I'll second.
It has been moved by Vice Mayor Mervin and properly seconded by Commissioner Bolden for the adoption of Resolution 2022-51. Call for questions.
Yep.
Commissioner Perez.
Is this a different exploratory? They did exploratory and they found the main valve or whatever, so now this is another exploratory.
Yes, ma'am, this is at a different,
Sewer.
yes, ma'am, it's at a different location. It is further down. As it says in here, that Palm Beach County requested an additional so that they can put down some lateral lines, things that were not discovered on the original plans. So it's 5 different lateral sewer services that were shown on the camera. So Palm Beach County requested that those lines be put down.
And it's gonna be put down by Russo Construction.
Rosso Construction, yes, ma'am.
So this is just for the exploratory, then we're gonna get another one for the work?
Well, this is for the work. This is the $5,000 for the exploratory work the county requested that they do, Palm Beach County.
For exploratory, just to look, not to
It is
actually
to
do
look,
the work.
yes.
It's gonna do the work.
Yes, so they put the camera down. The camera has already been put down. They've done the exploratory work. Palm Beach County is covering the cost. So I'm asking for approval that we can go ahead and pay them. And the backup documentation is there from Palm Beach County.
And there's no cost to the city,
No, ma'am.
okay?
Any additional questions? Hearing none. are you-
Wait. I have a question here because, I know on Exhibit A, it speaks about, the reimbursement, to the city of Pahokee for the amount of $46,800 for utility construction, relocation, and adjustment in conjunction with city project. 442-030-15401. Is this amount the amount that, like the contingency, like anything extra is gonna come out of that money? Or
Which-
what is this money for?
Which page are you on?
43. It's Exhibit A memorandum. Because this refers to the interlocal agreement.
Okay, so that 46,000 is included with the 1 million, that makes up the 1,046,000 that we are getting from Palm Beach County.
So everything that we're, all these changes in work orders, is it not touching this million whatever, or is coming out of that 1 million?
It comes out of that 1 million that Palm Beach County has approved.
Okay. Just following through.
Okay.
Any additional questions? Hearing none, are you ready for a vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Vice Mayor Mervin,
Yes.
Commissioner Bolden,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Commissioner Perez,
Yes.
Mayor Bab.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commissioners. Resolution passes by a unanimous vote. Now we'll move to Resolution 2022-52, City Attorney.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pahokee, Florida, authorizing the City of Pahokee to enter into a Community Development Block Grant CDBG program agreement with Palm Beach County for code enforcement services as more specifically set forth in Exhibit A hereto, providing for an effective date.
Thank you, City Attorney. City Manager, could you give us a brief explanation of Resolution 2022-52?
Yes, sir. This is an agreement between Palm Beach County and the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development for a grant to be executed through CDBG for our code enforcement position. The funding is not to exceed $42,651. Staff recommends approval of this agreement between the city and Palm Beach County for our fiscal year 22-23 grant agreement.
Thank you, City Manager. City Commission, having had Resolution 2022-52 properly read into the minutes by our City Attorney, properly explained by our City Manager, what is your pleasure?
Mayor Bab, I move to accept Resolution 2022-52.
Second.
It has been moved by Commissioner Bolden and properly seconded by Vice Mayor Mervin for the adoption of Resolution 2022-52. Call for questions.
I have a question.
Commissioner Bolden.
Mr. Lucas, how many code enforcement positions do we have currently?
One.
Just one? Is that all we need? We only need one position? One?
No, we need two.
But just so it's clear, this particular grant will be funding the second code enforcement officer?
No, just the one that's currently there. It's one that's been continued for, what, the last couple of years, Ms. Adams? 4 years. And that previous person was Ms. Dean. Now that's Ms. Heather Van Epps.
So it's just the one that we currently have.
Correct.
So if you're assessing that we need two, or concurring that we need two, what would be the status of the additional one? I thought that previously we had 1.5, that means one
And one and
working
one part-time.
Yes,
do we still have the part-time?
not at this time.
Okay, so what is the status, what are we planning, what our plans are to,
We are revising the job description, and we'll be placing it on the website and at various places that hire.
Okay, it says that the total compensation is $198,947. from October 2022 to December 2023. So that's like 14 months, right?
It's page 51.
So on page 51 that you're reading on, that says a maximum compensation could be.
Yeah. There was this, in no event should the total compensation or reimbursement to be paid hereunder exceed the maximum and total authorized sum of $198,947. So what does that position pay annually?
Well, your adopted budget is now online at our city website. Let me look.
Thought we were voting for tentative.
Currently, the position is paying around 44.
44, so what are we doing with the rest of the money?
If you hired a part-time, there you go.
Well, so the person prior to that was making more money. So the new person's making less, a little less than that.
What was it prior for?
But it's still under, well, that's just salary. You still have benefits. Benefits, we're still adding to that because you know as an employer that benefits are going to be additional monies. So they're just covering the salary, not the benefit aspect of it or the things for the health care and all that stuff of that full-time person.
We're talking about 44 out of 198.
We don't receive 198.
You cannot exceed, but that's what's authorized. Total authorized sum. So it's been authorized, correct?
Commissioner Perez, so the grant from Palm Beach County, even though it says total authorized sum, our grant is actually $442,000 and whatever the change is. Previously, Ms. Dean was in the position. Ms. Dean made more than the grants covered, so it only covered part of her salary. And with that, as Mr. Lucas stated, it covers benefits. So even if she made $30,000, it took her salary up with benefits up to 45, 46, but it did not cover the remainder. So even though they say not to exceed, that means over the time period. That includes FICA, that includes the health insurance, whatever additional coverages. I think maybe if they had AFLAC that was covered in there, it's covering all of that. Now, this grant agreement came to us when we were in the, Ms. Dean had moved over to another position, and now we have Ms. Heather in that position. Yes, Ms. Heather does make less money than Ms. Dean, so we will be able to make sure that that salary covers, this grant covers her full salary. Before, we didn't have that option. And to answer the question of the position, Ms. Heather was the part-time code enforcement. She is now full-time, so that part-time position is still open. But even if we got additional funding, it would not cover the full-time and a part-time person. So this $42,000 and the change helps to cover Ms. Heather's salary. And it was a little bit to cover.
Is her salary gonna change from what she's making?
Miss Heather's salary, at some point,
What you mean change? You know, we really don't like talking in an open forum about personnel issues.
Okay, is the new code enforcement officer gonna be making the same as the old, code enforcement officer, salary-wise? I'm not asking you for totals, I'm just asking you.
She has the potential to make up to the max of that range for that position. She's in her probationary period, if you will, and she's performing great.
and even if she increases, Commissioner, that CDBG grant will only cover, last year we received more, the year before we received more, and it has decreased because that's money that Palm Beach County receives from HUD. So it could fluctuate, it may go up, it may continue to go down. But that little bit helps us to pay that salary, regardless of the amount of money that code enforcement person would make.
So to be clear, this 198,947 is gonna be used for a full-time code enforcement and a part-time code enforcement,
No,
including.
No. The grant is only for the
42,651.
42,000.
Where is the
651.
42,000? Because then why are they saying here that they have authorized the sum of 198,
If I may.
It's on page 50.
51?
It's on page 50, you see the 42,651.
We can always make an appointment, Commissioner, and we can go over this, and I get finance involved, and we can talk about this.
So that states that if our code enforcement officer makes $300,000, that grant is not going to exceed, but that does not apply to us because they're only funding the position for $42,000.
That's all
So
they're gonna
regardless of how much she makes, they're not going, their grant amount will not exceed $198,000. That does not mean that is what we're giving her, that's what they're gonna give her. Our grant agreement with Palm Beach County will not exceed the $42,000, which includes benefits, any additional benefits that she may get, FICA, all of that. So if she were to get a raise in a year and we gave her a $200,000 raise,
Matter somewhere else.
we would have to find those funds from somewhere else.
Are there any additional questions? Hearing none, are you ready for a vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Bowden?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mervin?
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
Yes.
Commissioner Perez? Mayor Bab?
Yes. Motion passed by unanimous vote. Now we move to our next resolution, which is Resolution 2022-53.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pahokee, Florida, appointing 5 members to the Charter Review Board, providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Madam City Attorney. City Manager, could you give us a brief explanation?
Yes, sir. So, this is, every 5 years or so, we have a charter review where the city does a self-examination of itself and its policies and procedures. And what we need to obtain from the 5 of you is who you like to appoint to be on this board. You've heard what the city attorney has read into it, and it's a 90-day period. So I guess from November, December, January, we need to go through that committee will go through those things and make recommendations.
Thank you, City Manager. City Commission, having heard our city attorney properly read into the minutes our resolution and properly explained by our city manager, what is your pleasure?
Mayor Bab, I move to accept resolution 2022-53.
Second.
It has been moved by Commissioner Bolden and properly seconded by Vice Mayor Mervin for the adoption of resolution 2022-53. Call for question.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, what this is for is, it has blank spaces for specific appointments that you all would make. Now, if you were not wanting to make the appointments tonight, maybe you may consider doing it on another agenda, but we didn't know who the appointments would be, so I don't know, Mr. Mayor, if you want to take some time now and have everybody announce their appointment on the record, we will write it down and then add it to the resolution, or if you all wanted to
Yeah.
do something different.
We'll pose that to the commission. I know we talked about it at the previous meeting, but I don't know if everybody had an opportunity to confirm who they wanted to appoint or talk to anyone. I know I have mine, but we need to have all, if they're not all here.
Only one question, attorney, because it came up that, well, I have mine also, but, that a person that's on a board already, can they still sit on the, charter, committee? Just want to make that clarification, you know.
Yeah, there's no prohibition that I'm aware of. If it's not an employee or something like that, they should be able to sit on another board.
Okay.
But I can confirm within minutes.
Yeah, I read that also. They can sit on a different board
Okay.
or another board. And why she's looking at that, I don't know. The other, I think Commissioner Bolden say he's not.
I haven't confirmed.
Two of you all neither? Okay.
So can we bring it back at another meeting, you think, or?
Right. It's okay for us to announce that we have in case they may be considering maybe similar or the same person, they at least know that.
Absolutely,
Yeah, so
absolutely.
I've appointed James Scott.
I had alley bids.
Any further discussion?
So, I'm sorry to interrupt again, but since this is for specific appointments, do you all want to leave some, you want to just bring it back for another meeting? Is that what we're doing? I just want to make sure. Okay.
Right, correct.
Okay, so someone could defer this item until the next meeting, and you can vote on that, and we'll just bring it back on the next meeting.
Mayor, I move that we would move resolution 2022-53. I know it's not on there, but future agenda item.
Second.
It has been moved by Vice Mayor Mervin and properly seconded by Commissioner Gonzalez that we defer this item to our future agenda. Call for questions. Hearing none, you ready for?
Yeah, I want to be clear that we agree when we have to have this. It's not gonna be like the Centennial Committee. So if we say we're gonna bring it on whatever meeting, that's the meeting that we're gonna bring it. It's not gonna happen, before or, you know. So I wanna make sure that we have a date when we're gonna bring this back up.
At our next meeting,
On the 7th?
I think we moved the meeting, is it the 7th? Okay, yeah, 7th.
Okay.
Yeah, because Tuesday is the 8th
Election.
of November is Election Day, so we moved it to Monday.
Okay. Any additional questions? Hearing none, are you ready for a vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Vice Mayor Mervin?
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
Yes.
Commissioner Bowden?
Yes.
Commissioner Perez?
Yes.
Mayor Bab?
Yes. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commissioners. Resolution passed for the tabling, passed by unanimous vote. Now we'll move to the last resolution. Add-on resolution was under D, Resolution 2022-54. City Attorney.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pahokee, Florida, authorizing the mayor to enter into and execute grant agreement number 1.2104 between the City of Pahokee and the Florida Department of Environmental Protection Agency, effective upon final execution by the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. Attached hereto is Exhibit A, providing for adoption of representations, providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Madam City Attorney. City Manager, could you give us a brief explanation?
This grant has had its stalling moments, but I was able to salvage this to move forward. They gave us until the 31st to get this in. I understand there was things before I got here that caused some delays, and then because there were absence or inexperiences, it didn't move forward until now. So there's a lot to go on in Martin Luther King Jr. Park. I remember just 3 or 4 months ago, Commissioner Perez was talking about soccer and all these things. So I don't understand all the fire there, but here we have an opportunity to rebound and move forward. So with this, I like to be able to get approval from my commission to go forward with this. They're going to extend us 12 to 13 months so we can beautify Martin Luther King Park. Staff recommends approval of this grant.
Say something. when I'm not making a big deal about the grant, I'm making a big deal about the process. Every time I try to correct the process, I get accused that I'm attacking because we're trying to move forward. We have to run the city like the city is supposed to be run. I realize that you just got an extension and that we need to move on it. It doesn't take away from the fact that we have to do this as an emergency or at the last minute because we failed to do it when it was supposed to be done. And that is my thing. I still advocate for Martin Luther King Park, for all the things that I want to do, the soccer team, the pool, everything. I just want the process to be done the way it needs to be done. That's it. I don't want to be taken out of context that I'm making a big deal for this and that I'm fighting this. I'm not fighting anything. I'm fighting the process because I want it to go the way it's supposed to go. That's it.
But that's not what you said just 10 minutes ago. So all I'm saying is this. They gave us an ultimatum.
Let's move it forward. We don't have a motion at this point. I just wanted an explanation, a brief explanation. City Commission haven't heard our city attorney properly read this resolution into the minutes and probably explained by the city manager. What is your pleasure?
Mayor Bab, I move to accept resolution 2022-54.
Second.
It has been moved by Commissioner Bowden and properly second by Commissioner Gonzalez for the adoption of resolution 2022-53. Time for questions.
54.
Call for questions.
Yeah.
Commissioner Correa.
Okay, we got 250,000 and then we have to add our 7%, which is 20,000, making it 270. And then we have the NEAT grant, that's another additional 40,000, right? So that's 310 that we have for MLK Park. We have the NEAT, that's 40, and 270 for this, right?
So these things come with matching components to them, if you will. So the 40,000 is really 20,000 extra because we gotta put money up front. But yes, ma'am.
We gotta put money to match that grant.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's a total of 40, plus the 250,
Well, the 250 has
270, I mean. So we're talking a total of 310 that we have for the park.
we gotta put money into the vote.
Is that correct, Mr. Lucas?
Yes.
So we have 310 for the park?
Well, okay, so, go ahead.
It's,
It's
Right.
what?
it's 20,
So
not
it's, we have
40,000.
two NEAT grants, but one of that portion of that NEAT grant is for Commissioner's
Commission
Park.
Park.
And the other half is for MLK. And then, so the NEAT grant is Palm Beach County funding. MLK grant is FDEP funding, the 270. And if I may, the grant agreement from the state has never come to the commission. So it may seem like we've been going around this circle for a while, but the actual agreement has never come before the commission, because before we could get the grant, we had to have a site plan. So the site plan was never brought to the state so that we could get a grant agreement. So yes, and it will be the 270, 20 of that, the city has to provide that match. That is
That's-
required.
That's for FDEP, and then we
Yes,
have
ma'am.
the NEAT grant.
The
that's
10,000.
giving us 20, and then we're matching 20.
Well, yes and no. The NEAT grant as a whole is giving us $20,000, but we have to separate the two because one is for Commissioner's Park and one is for MLK. So when we,
So it's 290, not
Yes.
310.
290.
I thought last time we agreed that it was, we got 40,000, how much did we get from the NEAT grant?
From the NEAT grant, we got two NEAT grants.
Uh-huh.
One was for 10,000. The 10 we have to match. And then the other one was for Commissioner's Park. It was for 10,000, and then we give a match of 10,000,
So it was 10, not 20.
not 20,000.
The match makes
The match makes it up, makes the 20.
20. Okay.
Any additional questions? I have one for Ms. Lucas. Originally, we received this grant, I guess, about 2 years ago. Have there been any changes? I know it's been some communication about a soccer field and other things, but this grant was written specifically for certain items to be installed at MLK Park. That don't mean it can't be revised or anything, but I'm asking, have any additional information went up to the state to change the purpose and use of this particular funding?
Yes, sir. So basically, I found several errors in our plan. So they wanted a site plan before things are removed, and then they want one after what they're proposed. So with that said, we were just going to replace swing sets, pavilions right there in the middle of the field. So just looking at the field, I drove out there, thought about it for a couple of days, and I looked at it and I listened to what the people of Pahokee were saying that they wanted. They wanted more soccer field, more multi-purpose football field, and a multi-purpose field. So by just removing all the pavilions, removing all the swing sets, and moving them over to the right towards the basketball court, we achieved that. Right there, everybody happy. So that was the amendment. Then there were things that they wanted to cut out like the, what part of the park is the daycare center. So there were things that I had to have lengthy discussions on to that. So there are things that we're going to bring back to the commission so that all of you have a full understanding and we can move forward with it. Right now, we're just staying the course with beautifying the track around it, getting the new playground equipment, but just not putting it back where it was at, putting it over to the right. Pavilion, putting them to the right. Making them look nicer, more in tune with how Commissioner Park pavilions look. So,
Well, so whatever, where it says project task 2A, development of project elements which include construct new additional parking, fix decaying paving, install new age-appropriate playground and outdoor fitness equipment, restore and replace recreational shelter, install new LED security lighting, install a new walking path, remodel the baseball and soccer fields, and install new seats, bleachers at the field. Is that the new thing? Is this the old thing? Is this
no,
what we're doing?
that's all part of the original plan, ma'am. The only thing I just suggested on it is to give you the feel, to move all the things out of there, put them over to the right. Then, what I like to do is present to the commission the vision. The vision of doing a amphitheater right there towards that other side. That could be phase 2.
And this is gonna be bidded out?
All this has to be built out.
Any additional questions?
Question, maybe it just be phase 2 too, also around the, there's a canal there. I know at one time they were talking about putting the fencing up along that canal, because you remember they were saying when it was walking, remember they had gators was coming up on the.
Right, so we want to put nice fencing up there. We want to do the upgrade. I remember when we attended the Florida League of Cities and met with vendors that had those things. We want to get those bids from those agencies we sit down and talk with. So, yes, ma'am.
Also, would that probably phase 2 also to redo the basketball court with fencing?
Yes, and to resurface the basketball court.
And the signage for, that was, remember we voted on for Bebe Williams. Okay.
Any additional questions? Hearing none, are you ready for a vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Bowden?
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mervin?
Yes.
Commissioner Perez?
Yes.
Mayor Bab?
Yes. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commissioners. Motion passed by unanimous vote. And that was a resolution. And now we'll move to new business, conversation about activities or events, upcoming events. City Manager, Economic Development Director.
Yes. So with that said, I'm gonna have Mr. Carlos Manguel come up to present. So as you guys know, just to give you background, we had Hurricane Ian come through.
Excuse me. I think this is.
Oh,
the
yes,
part that I
yes,
have
yes,
to-
you have to recuse yourself
Yeah.
and leave.
Do I have to say why?
Yes,
Or-
ma'am. That's the law.
Okay, the reason being, the thing's gonna be discussed is Big Dog, which I have conflict of interest because that happens to be the company owned by my husband. So I will be outside, and if you could please call me when you're done with your discussion, voting, whatever it is that you're doing. I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Good evening, Commission, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and the public. I've passed out a spreadsheet of how Solid Waste Authority bids out their debris removal during hurricane and emergencies. So I broke it out. You put the next page. I broke it out with each individual hauler that they've that was bid out on an annual basis. It gets bid out, and then they get priced for strictly emergency. So what happens is the Solid Waste Authority contracts with these 4 vendors at a certain price to remove all debris from during a hurricane, or an emergency, or tornado, whatever it is. However, to be able to get money from FEMA, you have to have an emergency, a disaster declaration for Category A. So if you don't get a Category A, then FEMA will not cover your debris removal. Okay, so during Hurricane Ian, they've declared a Category B, which is strictly for more individuals, households, and some public assistance. But it doesn't cover the removal of debris. So when Ian came around, the city had a good amount of debris that was all over the place. It was the homeowners gathered it together, put it out front, and it had to be removed. If not, we were just going to have stuff thrown all over the place, and the city would not look fine. So if you look at the spreadsheet, Big Dog removed 2,800 yards of debris right after the hurricane for 2 weeks.
What day started?
They started on the 30th of September.
Just need a fresh. When was the hurricane?
The 28th
28th
Of September.
of September. Okay, so they started on the 30th. They started removing, and they picked up 2,800 yards. The total bill for the 2,800 yards that Big Dog presented to us was $58,982. We called Mr. Perez in, we sat down with him, the city manager and myself, and we went over the pricing. And he has agreed to drop the price by $10,000. Now, if you look at what the pricing is by hauler, he's giving us a break by charging us $17.49 a yard for removal. If we would have gone it, and if the totals at the bottom, you'll see that says, you know, the first ash bit, it would have cost us $64,000 to have it removed. Crowder would have cost us $57,000. DRC would have cost us $48,000, and Phillips and Jordan would have cost us $68,000. So the truth is that he's working with us because we told him it was just too much money. We sat with him, we went over the invoices with him, and he's agreed to lower the price. So he's actually coming, if you average it out, he's actually coming below the averages. Because if the last column you see is an average of all the prices together. So he's coming in under the overall average. So the staff recommends that we go ahead and pay them for the removal. There is budgeted money for these type of things in public services. And if you agree to, we will bring a resolution in the future to make payment.
Were you responsible for assessing the damage and kind of giving an estimate of what tonnage you projected or thought was out there? Because this last hurricane was basically, for our area, what I consider minor. We had some debris, but it wasn't that major of debris. I was surprised that on Thursday, I know Bacon Point Road, normal pickup is Thursday. That's where I live at, so I can see that area pretty quickly and clearly. I didn't see any real major debris. Now, I saw some regular trash pickup that need to be picked up that normally would be there anyway. I'm wondering when that tonnage that was picked up was factor into what we normally pick up in the community. I thought it was a real mild hit for us, very mild. And 50,000, I know he's reducing it by 10, but 50,000 to me seemed pretty excessive.
We went through every one of his tickets. There was tickets attached to every invoice. We went through, we looked, but remember, what happens is when there's a hurricane like this, even though homeowners begin to cut. Okay, it knocked over a little, a portion of the tree, let's cut it down. And if you saw, as I was out there on a regular basis, people would just kept bringing stuff out. So, and I'm Bacon Point, because I drive through there every morning when I come through. I used to see people bringing from the back of their properties, pickup trucks full of bringing it out to the front of the home. So, was it a huge hit? No. But when I came in here the day after the hurricane, there was stuff everywhere. There was debris everywhere. I drove through the parks, I drove through the city streets, I drove through Bacon Point, I drove through Lake. There was stuff everywhere. But, homeowners, again, they'll pick up, they'll get it all together, and then they start cutting again. And unfortunately, that's what seems to have happened.
I have a question. Okay, as I can concur, how do we know? I know it's hard to determine whether it was regular yardage or hurricane yardage. You just say where I live, it wasn't picked up one time for like almost a week and a half before the hurricane. So what I'm saying is, like, how do we know? I know we have to pay, but how do we know that it was from hurricane? Because is there not, with the tickets you're saying that you have, who verified that those tickets are correct? Who was with Big Dog or following Big Dog from the city to say those tickets were correct, that he actually picked those up?
There was no one with the hauler during this time.
So it could have been, not saying he did it, but it could have been he put in tickets that.
Well, he normally says we got.
Because doesn't that have to be verified through the city?
Yeah.
The tickets?
Yes. That's the normal procedure. What happened was we reached out to their people. We wanted to know what the average pickup yardage is on a weekly basis, and we figured out that they're moving about 150 to 200 yards a week. And if you look around in the news, there's a lot of counties that have millions and millions of yards of debris that was picked up during this hurricane. So 2,800 is not an out of this world type of amount. Lee County, for example.
You mean 48, not 20, you mean 48?
2,800. It's 2,800.
But his bill is what, 48?
No, oh, the bill is 48,000.
It's 48,000.
No, but it's 28, I'm talking about yardage,
Okay.
not about money. You know, each county has had an enormous amount of vegetation. I've been in the garbage business for 32 years. And every time a situation like this happens, the amount of vegetation that comes out, even on minor hurricanes, is enormous. The difference is huge from one week to the other.
Yeah, but this wasn't exactly a hurricane though, fire area though.
I understand, but I'm telling you that I've been in the business for 32 years and I see it every time.
Right, but the winds of the hurricane still affected us.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
they affected us
affected
real
us.
bad, 'cause I mean, through the ABC streets, it was packed everywhere. I literally seen trees, like you said, on Martin Luther King Park, trees throughout the whole area knocked down. And I mean, you can't just stack everything up there all at one time. You have to take your time, cut it, pile it up, wait for them to pick it up so it doesn't get on the road. You know, because the more you put on there, it goes to the road, and we have a traffic issues then.
So the volume to me is not outrageous.
But we need to tighten up our policy process and how it goes about. So what happened is I got a call Friday from Mr. Perez and asking me, can he start picking up debris? I said, yes, you may start. I said, just keep in mind, I don't know where the funding's gonna come from. I was waiting for a ruling from FEMA. So I asked Ms. Adams to call. So within a week time, the following Friday, they told us they weren't covering it. I immediately called him, he quit. The clock stopped at that point.
Yeah, we know FEMA's not gonna cover, it's not declared as category or either
Right.
declared as, state of
So-
emergency.
so
They're not gonna cover,
typically-
they're not gonna reimburse.
You guys know the process to be the ticket, and then staff is with him or with his crews doing those things. So on the tickets and where the tickets were at, we didn't have tickets ourselves, so he created the ticket, or he got a copy of one, correct, Ms. Adams? So,
He does have to.
yeah, and then I guess he didn't take them to an authorized FEMA place and all those things. We can look at the whole enchilada for what it is. So,
But he is.
Well, he's
his
licensed
facility-
to,
Yeah, his
you know,
facility is a solid.
he has a
waste
facility,
authority.
yeah, that part, he has that to do that there, so that's okay. I'm just looking at the price of it.
And he processes it, and then he disposes of it.
Right, and they've been working non-stop, 7 days a
Go
week,
ahead, Commissioner
late at
Bowman.
night.
Go ahead.
No, I'll say, thank God we weren't hit harder, but I did ride around and there was vegetation all over the place. There were piles of it. Example would be Martin Luther King Park. It was everywhere. As the Director of Parks and Rec, he was out there working out there as well. He can attest to it as well. It was all over the place.
Yeah, I made a point of
Like I said.
coming in early the next day just to see how bad the damage was. And I went through all the streets and all the parks, and there was stuff out there.
Oh, yeah.
And bottom line, it needs
And
to be,
consistently that following week,
And you got
the
it,
bottom
kept
line, it
coming
needs
up.
to be done.
and you got it.
Correct?
correct.
And
And
You
he's
have to
doing
remove
it,
it.
and he's doing it
He
for
got
the
it
best
up.
rate, correct?
Right.
Correct, and he's
Okay.
doing it for reasonable, much more reasonable than the, had we needed to use any one of these, we would have paid more.
And you said it's actually, you said $10,000 less?
Yes.
So 38,
No, 40.
No, it was,
It was 58,982,
You took it
and
to
then we
48.
negotiated down to 48,982.
okay. I have no issue with that.
Anything else?
Put into motion.
did you motion?
Do we need a
I'll
motion?
put motion.
Go ahead.
I'd like to put a motion to.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I believe the recommendation is that this be brought back for a future meeting so that we can put it in a proper resolution form. This is just for you all to kind of get consensus, the manager to get an idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're gonna bring it back on November 7th as a resolution. I want you guys to fully understand the cost and what was done to get direction from you so I can bring it back with that
So do you
amount.
have the motion to turn it to, for the resolution to come back or no?
You do not.
Okay.
No.
Thank you.
So it's a future agenda.
You can get Sarah now.
At this time,
You can get Sarah now.
Councilman, you want to bring up the other
Sarah.
staff for
Sarah?
that item we missed earlier?
Yes, sir.
Updates on projects, city projects.
Which one am I doing first? Which one am I doing first?
Oh, your city project.
Project.
I'm supposed to back.
Just heard about it. Everybody else.
Yeah, no, they want to pass it down.
Yeah,
Pass
they
it
were
down.
extra.
Yeah,
They were extra.
pass it down.
You got these already?
I don't.
Why I got so many city projects?
They're different things. You should have 3 sets.
They're not killing the trees. though.
Let's do that.
I'm such an eco-friendly person. May I begin?
Sure.
Good evening, Mayor and Commission, community. My name is Peggy Boulay Washington. I am the Director of Community and Economic Development. And I'll be briefly presenting our city projects.
I don't have one.
Which one you're on?
City
You're on
projects.
this one?
This one.
Well, you're all on my phone.
Thank you. Ready?
The first project I'll be giving an update on is the Martin Luther King Memorial Project, Improvement Project.
We just did that one.
Excuse me, Martin Luther King Memorial Park Improvement Project. And that is through FDEP, and it is a grant project. So most of the information shared would be a bit redundant because we did discuss the MLK Park project. We do know that the project is a $250,000 project with a 7% match amount of $20,000. An update on the project is that upon approval of our Mayor and City Commission from tonight's meeting, and all signatures obtained, documents will be submitted for execution, and from that point, we would then begin the process of getting those services into the city and the project begin. Next, McClure Road, Phase 1. That is an FDOT project, and it's a scope municipalities grant project. McClure Road, the project is through a rural roadway assistance consolidated funding. So that's a funding that was created through the Florida Department of Transportation through a project titled Small Community Outreach Programs for Rural Areas of Opportunities, i.e. scope municipalities. So whenever you hear us reference scope municipalities and the McClure project, this is what we are referencing, this program. It does involve, as we stated before, a complete reconstruction of the existing roadway, sidewalks, swells, and drainage
and distribution systems within the McClure Road area. The reconstruction will also include the removal of organic soil to increase future roadway future lifespan. This project funding amount is for $933,943.00. Update on this project, the process to be determined so that we can expedite and efficiently proceed with the project completion. And as soon as our leadership gets together, we will then determine next steps. Finally, the NEAT grant. Again, it'd be a bit redundant to go into detail. However, the NEAT grant is another grant project. This encompasses MLK Park as well as Commissioners Park. They are both beautification projects through the Palm Beach County Office of Community Revitalization. The award amount for each project is $10,000 with a matching $10,000 award. A matching amount. We have an update on the project. The resolution and agreement that was signed has been mailed to the county. We are awaiting execution and a walkthrough from PBC. That concludes my updates for our grant projects. Thank you. Moving on.
Did we mention the demolition project at the lot adjacent to Commissioner Park? That building and that overdrove?
We discussed that project last commission
Yeah,
meeting.
we want to make sure we touch base every commission, so I'm aware in this commission.
Yes, there hasn't been any movement since then outside of what recently took place.
The bid went out last week. We had a pre-bid meeting, and right now we're waiting on those bids to come back in for review before the bid committee, and then the final winner will be brought to commission. So the bid went out. We had a pre-bid meeting last Tuesday. We did a walkthrough with those individuals that were interested in bidding on the project. So we're waiting for those bids to come back in. And then today, we had for ITB 2022-01, we had a pre-bid meeting for those contractors for phase 4 for the road reconstruction, but we did not have anyone to attend. So that that RFP will be resubmitted so that we can do another pre-bid meeting and have those, hopefully we have contractors come out.
What's the 2022-01?
ITB 2022-01 is resurfacing for phase 4.
Phase 4
Those
project.
streets.
In McClure Road, what's the projected start date? I know she was saying with management.
So it's, right now it's under design, so as soon as design has been submitted back to the state, we'll be able to put that bid out. So we're hoping that, by the first of the year, we can start seeing some movement.
Moving on to the,
Excuse me, the design, is that the engineer or the architect? Who takes care of the design?
the combination of the two.
The design is done by engineer. So right now we have CAP government looking at the design so that we can get that to the state.
And who's the engineer?
The engineer was CAP government, so I don't have a specific name. We have asked them to start working on design for us. And we're already contracted with them.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Now, would sidewalk be included in that
For
design?
McClure,
Yes, ma'am.
yes, McClure includes roads, it includes the swells,
Drainage.
The
drainage.
same thing as Barfield Highway, basically.
Yes.
Thank you.
Was a design submitted when the grant was first submitted to the state?
So, no, sir, when we initially submit our legislative request, and same thing with MLK, it is, the work plan is put in and what needs to be done, the footage where it's gonna take place. So the design part is not submitted at when we submit for the grant application.
when you submit for the grant application, where do you get the figures that you're gonna ask for?
So we do use an engineer, and so for McClure, we had the engineer that was on site at the time was MDO Engineering, and he was the one who assisted with the application process.
Is he gotten paid?
Yes, ma'am.
How much did he get paid?
I do not know. I will have to go back and look at the.
Okay. Okay.
Also, just to add some clarification, if you go on page 4 in your slides, you'll see an outline of what the project covers. It's on the second point. It's on the first and the second point. It breaks that down for you.
Where?
Okay. Under McClure.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
So it tells you what it encompasses. So moving on to beautification project. This is just a brief overview of what's coming. At our next commission meeting, I will be doing a full presentation on our beautification project, but this is just to give you an idea of what the trash receptacle project will look like and what it encompasses and whereabout we are with pricing on the trash receptacles. So if you can go to the next slide. And we've identified 5 roads, 5 major thoroughfares. If the mayor commission wants us to make some adjustments or additions, please feel free to do so. The first is Rodden.
It says Roden.
You spell it right.
I'm sorry, that's an error. It's Rodden. My apologies, that's an error. The next is North Lake. Following that is Main Street. Following Main Street is the Marina and Campground. Lastly, Parks and Recreation. All of which pretty much has they all have the images of what the trash receptacles will look like. For now, it seems that these are the most durable trash receptacles. They're environmentally friendly. They are weatherproof. They are heavy duty. They have a reusable liner. So there are many aspects to these trash receptacles that make them a more Pahokee friendly trash receptacle to use for this project.
So the one with the lid is 530 and the other one's are 565.
Yes.
Have you figured out how many you're gonna put at each location or exactly where?
So we were looking at 10 in total, putting 2 at the starting point, maybe at the end point of each thoroughfare. However, we are open to possibly increasing it or maybe identifying other additional areas to put them. Also keep in mind when the presentation is made, I'll also have an image, a sample image of what the transposed image would look like on the trash receptacle. So for example, we may have the city seal on the trash receptacles. We may have a welcome to Pahokee on the trash receptacle. So those are different ideas of ways that we can make them more specific and inviting, specific to Pahokee and more unified, for lack of better words.
Maybe our own slogan.
Yes, we can use the city slogan. We can come up with some phrases, whatever we like. This project is being created from scratch, so that's the great thing about it. We can all put our stamp on this project.
And does it have a way that you could just?
So they're installed. If you look at the base of the trash receptacles, you can see like there are little points.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
yeah, so they cannot take them.
Yes.
Okay.
So we just have to make sure that the area that is installed, we probably may have to put some cement or something there so that we're making sure it's bolted down into the ground versus putting it into the soil.
And the liners itself will be the items that's gonna be removed to empty the trash?
Yes.
Okay.
And so the downside to having the lids is that people tend to stuff big items into the lids and then they break them, they become unsightly, they're hazards, they become hazards, and, you know, having this one, and we have a really good public works department, and I'm sure they'll do a great job with assisting us in making sure that the trash is picked up regularly, maybe along with our trash disposal company as well. So we'll be working out a game plan for that as well to make sure it's taken care of.
So this lid goes down?
Which one? The black one?
Yeah.
No, it stays up, so you would have to stuff it. It's to put out your cigarettes. So if, you know, we have smokers and things of that nature, you just put your cigarette out on the top of it. And then also it prevents birds and rodents
Going in the garbage.
crawling directly into it and picking the trash out. But you know, these little critters are a little clever, so you know, if they want it, they'll get it.
Yeah.
Whether we have the lid on it or not. So, any more questions about this project?
Nope.
Okay. Well, we will also be bringing the benches before you as well. So that'll be something that we can look at as well. And then we have signage with the centennial signage that'll be coming to you as well as part of that presentation.
You already know where the benches are going? Or how many benches? Or-
We've identified a couple places, but again, we are definitely open to suggestions from mayor and commission. This is your city, and we want to make sure that everyone has a part in making it beautiful, and keeping it beautiful.
Could you provide us a list of the areas that you guys are thinking about putting them at?
For the benches,
Yes, ma'am.
yes, it will be included in the presentation as well.
Okay.
So in addition to cost, so you will see the cost, the image, and so on. Finally, I'm sorry, any more questions on this?
Have we attempted to seek addition of bus stops with the cover and the benches under there for our ridership in this community?
So that is a conversation that I've had. I will revisit it. There's a conversation that we have to have with the county, and they basically, the way I understood it is that they would have to determine whether that area has enough traffic for us to be able to either put a new bench there or do different things to it. Also, if it had an existing bench, if that bench was removed or damaged, because sometimes there are car accidents and they run into these things and it's not replaced and no one knows to say anything about it. So this is a conversation that we will be revisiting with Palm Beach County's Transportation Department.
I tried to get them one time, and see how that works, you know? And, the suggestion was, for us to apply for the NEAT grant and, you know, put one up. As far as I know, there's only one with a cover in the city.
We would have to apply for several NEAT grants. Those benches are expensive, especially since the price of everything has gone up. On average, from the top of my head, I could recall anywhere from $10,000 to $12,000 in excess.
Yeah, I think the one in town was provided by ex-mayor Colin Walks, correct?
Yeah, from a NEAT grant.
That's where you got it from?
But again, that is a conversation that I will be having with the Transportation Department of Palm Beach County. They're pretty good with giving direction, and also they're pretty responsive. So hopefully that is something that will materialize into us being able to get a resolution to that. So I will bring information back to you for the next commission meeting about that as well.
Our area, it's, you know, one of the areas that they utilize the bus more than, you know, other places. I mean, a lot of people here do not have own their own transportation, and, you know, they have to depend on the bus, and if it's raining or,
And
you
it's
know,
hot.
they get wet. They don't even, I mean, a lot of them don't even have a bench.
Yeah.
I thought that, you know, they were the ones that were to supply it, but now
So-
we found out.
Yes, I will definitely have a conversation with them, and if there's a grant that we may be able to apply for, we'll look into that as well. Also keep in mind, this is most organizations, this starts their budget season, so their grants may not be open just yet. So, but if there are grants that will become available, I will definitely look into applying for them and figuring out what exactly we need to qualify for them.
Do you have any idea what the cost was
For the benches
for the one that's already there?
with the cover,
Yeah.
from what I could recall, and this is just a couple years ago, having a bench with a cover was over $10,000. So I could imagine what it is now, especially with the hurricane impact material that they use and things like that. So, but again, I will definitely have that conversation with them, get direction, and bring some information back to you the next commission meeting. Lastly, we're gonna go over city events. So I'll be sharing with you the last set of events for the year. And then the next quarter, we will discuss the following set of events. However, throughout the months, you will hear some chatter about different events coming. The majority of the events are spearheaded by the Community and Economic Development Department, along with our supporting departments, our team members from Parks and Recreations, Public Works, so on and so forth. If you go on to the next page, we have this quarter at a glance. October 31st is our Fall Festival. There's a flyer. Everyone should have a flyer. Please post it on your social media, share it with your friends and family, your neighbors. And this is a community event. November 11th is Veterans Day. Mayor and Commission, if you have not submitted your names for Veterans Day, please, please, please get them to me as soon as possible, because I have to put that order in for the plaques. So please get those to me as soon as possible.
Could you, for this commission, especially those who haven't been here, outline what is needed on those plaques? I think
Sure.
we did the branch of service, the
Their
rank, if
name, their
any,
rank.
and share that with them so they can be able to submit that along with their names.
Okay, so off the top of my head is their name, their rank, the branch of service that they served in, their years of service, and I believe that's it. However, I will double check with Ms. Warner, just to make sure that I'm giving you all of the information.
I think that's it.
That's it?
Additional information could be shared for those who present their veterans. You can maybe
Okay.
want to say a few words about them in addition to those required for the plaque, but that's the basic information for the plaque.
Yes, so the basic information. Would you all like me to repeat it, or everybody got it?
Okay, go over it again.
So the name of the person, the branch of military that they served in, the number of years that they served, and what's the fourth one? The name, the branch, the number of years that they served. And their rank, yes, thank you, and their rank. And we'll do the rest.
They have to be Pahokee, right?
Yes, Pahokee residents. In November, we have a turkey giveaway for Thanksgiving. The date is to be determined. We are working on some community partnerships. So if you have some information about that you want to share with us, you have some community partners that are interested, please let us know. Also, those of you who are out there watching, if you would like to donate, please give us a call and we'll coordinate with you. Events at cityofpahokee.com, and or you can call the city at 561-924-5534. November 26th, Commissioners Park Memorial Event. This is an event that's hosted by Palm Beach County along with other community partners to celebrate the lives of the officers that passed away who were members of this community. December 5th is the Christmas parade. Please, please, please share the flyer. Let your friends and your family know. We had a great turnout for the Pahokee parade, and I'm sure it'll be even bigger with this Christmas parade. So please, if those of you out there would like to participate in some way, would like to sponsor, would like to donate, please feel free to reach out as well. December 20th is the Christmas toy giveaway. Again, same thing for donations and sponsorships. Feel free to reach out. December 17th, Centennial Finale. This is an event that will be hosted by the Centennial Committee to celebrate the staff members of the city. So this event is for the staff of the city. January 16th is the MLK Day Parade. There's a lot of coordination that goes with the Christmas parade and the MLK Day Parade. So please, ma'am, please, sir, if you are interested, please reach out as soon as possible so that we can coordinate.
So are we missing December 9th, Tri-City Barbecue?
I didn't include Tri-City in this forum because it's not a community event per se.
Okay. And then, Mayor, what typically time do we have the veterans services or things? Because I saw Miss Peggy had 8 p.m.
It's
8
no,
p.m.?
it's corrected.
Oh,
It's corrected. Oh, that's the wrong flyer. I'll give you guys the corrected one.
11.
Here it is. It's from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m.
All right.
So I gave you guys the wrong flyer. My apologies. I'll send you all the correct flyer. It's from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And that concludes my presentation. Any questions? Thank you. Have a good evening.
now we'll move to the mayor's report. Again, I just can't thank the Centennial Committee enough for the outstanding job I think they've done this year to help us celebrate the 100-year birthday of the city. We have approximately 30, 35 employees. There's no way we would have been able to do the magnitude of the events that we have sponsored this year without them. And I would certainly recommend that we consider having this committee as a permanent community board. You can call it special event board or whatever, and I would suggest that we try to rotate it, have new members at least every 2 years, so others will be able to have a key role in making a decision or recommendation for the city. And it haven't always been easy for them. I know we want to have our say, and we do. The city commission have the final say on anything, even recommendation of any boards. But I just want to share the gratitude, at least I have, and I think I'm speaking for the majority, if not all the commission, that we want to just thank them for the service they have provided. There have been some great activities and great services. That's one of the main things this community has been asking for and continue to ask for, and it's going to be our challenge in future years to try to sustain some of the activities that board have put on for us. And along with us, they haven't done it by themselves. They had other residents in the commission itself, but I think they have taken the lead and that they did a great job. But one of the things the community has been asking for is more activities for the community, and having a board such as that would help bridge that gap to make sure we have adequate activities for our residents. I'm glad that the city manager, and I think I had that at least ranked as one of my priorities of trying to help and hope that our commission accomplishes a amphitheater. We've talked about it in the past, and I heard him mention that we're looking at a area at MLK. I would also like for us to really consider, if we can and get state permission, is to have an amphitheater built on the marina. So you have two avenues of hosting some type of festival or some type of major activity for our community. So if we can just use that as a consideration, that would be great. Another item that the commission have heard, at least I've heard time and time again, is they asking this commission, as well as all commission, to be transparent, to let them know what's going on. Don't hide anything from them, don't cover up anything, but to share what we do and how we do it, and make sure it's open and in the sunshine. And I think on the most part we do that. We have live streaming for a purpose, and that purpose is to allow this community to see our actions and see what we do, and be able to get a picture of what the city's doing and how it's doing it. But transparency is still at the forefront, and we need to be cautious of that and be aware of that. They're looking for this commission to work more together. They realize we're going to have some differences, but we all have said it. Let's agree to disagree in a polite and respectful manner. You don't have to agree with my opinion or my decision, but to respect that it is my opinion and my decision. And you don't have to rebuttal everything someone say. I mean, we do it if someone sharing incorrect information, but if someone talking, allow them to finish their statement. And I think that's part of even the resolution that we're passing, the procedure, the rules of procedure that we're doing, that we treat each other in a cordial manner, in a courteous manner, whether you agree or disagree, and not interrupt a speaker when they're speaking. Allow them to talk, get their point out, almost like court. Sometimes folks say something in court, you know you want to say something, but you patiently allow them to finish, and you say your lawyer on your behalf make the rebuttal of the cross-examination. I even at church, I had 3 citizens, right or wrong, they have the opportunity to express, and they see us everywhere. And I mention church because you don't normally think people to talk about issues of concern in church, but they do. One was the cemetery upkeep, and I was just gonna ask the city manager under that recent vendor contract, the 3 months they work or the 2.5 months, was the cemetery part of the mowing during that period?
The old Pioneer Park Cemetery on Bacon Point, right, just a
I'm talking
few,
about, yeah, the main cemetery though.
but
main
not the one at Port Miaka.
Okay, I didn't know what to tell them. I wanted to even say, you know, we even had some emergency help to take care of some of that, but I think that's an area when we do get behind, not saying it need to be contracted out, but I think we've had Public Works go and help as much as they can when they can, and I think that should be a great continued practice, because that's one of the major items that you're gonna, you may get more criticism on that cemetery than you would on a major thoroughway in this community. And we all know thoroughway gonna get an eye catch, so you're gonna have some complaints about it. But the cemetery is such a sentimental, emotional charge area. So I'm just asking if we can, we got to find a way to make sure that the cemetery is cut and maintained as much as we can, at least showing the community that we're putting an effort to make sure that happens whenever it can happen. I don't think I got even the other 3 that was mentioned, but that was the main one to do that. Also, okay, I use the other 3 as future agenda items that we need to see if the commission want to address it or work on that. That's conclude my report to the manager report.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm seeking 3 consensus direction from City Commission. I'm seeking to use $112,000 from the budget to pay for the signature community events on a large scale during the holidays of Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's, and bring it back as a resolution on Monday, November 7th, commission meeting with a breakdown by line item.
You're gonna be bringing that, you're not asking for that type of approval without the line items, right? Because I definitely need to know what would be the breakdown and why would it cost as much as you stated there. Could be perfectly legit, but I couldn't be able to support something I haven't saw a breakdown of the expenditures. And what was the item you're saying there?
It's for large-scale events, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's.
Those are the only 3?
No,
Pretty
you
much
know,
the
there's
events
a
that Peggy
whole lot of
mentioned
things going, sir?
Is that the events Peggy mentioned earlier?
Yes.
Does it follow?
That's in addition to the 25,000 left. We allocated 100,000 for the centennial, and so far 76,000 have been used out of it. Now you want 112 for the last 3.
It's a new fiscal year.
Hmm?
It's a new fiscal year.
New fiscal year, but it's the same year for the centennial, isn't it? Or the centennial goes with the fiscal year? I just wanna know.
So it's calendar for the for the centennial. But this is fiscal. But I'll bring forward, I can get to you by Friday, the breakdown, just shoot you guys an email and, do that of it.
How soon can I get a breakdown of everything that we've spent so far on the centennial?
I have to ask staff, ma'am, and see how quickly we can do it.
A question, does this include the Christmas tree?
And
So,
decoration.
Decor?
so on there, you saw the lighting event, all those things, yes, without singling out a tree.
And decor.
So I'll do an email with breakdown. And, all right. Next, as you heard from Miss Peggy, we'll be bringing back the beautification program for the pricing and everything for the November 7th meeting, so you have that pricing. And locations. I remember one of you said locations, so. And then, go
Did we
ahead.
figure out where that money's coming from?
So, yes, there's money in the budget that for the 112,000, there's money in the budget for beautification, and then the last thing is seeking direction on ARPA spending. Home repairs and incentive programs, infrastructure, COVID-related management, and marina and campground. Wanted to get understanding so we can move forward on spending for these things. Or where do you guys stand with the committee?
What committee?
Your ARPA advisory committee?
Again, it would be my recommendation to have that, oh, that's the opera, okay, I'm jumping a little.
I think we should definitely take a look at their suggestions for home repair and incentives program. I want to see how that would be outlined. I would want to see how that would be outlined, who would qualify, how would they qualify, would be.
The details.
Right.
Yeah. Now, I think that should be charged with staff and administration. They done kind of gave us what they're looking for to have done, but I don't think we should put that burden to say, you know, this is how and who qualified. But as long as it's included in our spending, but we need to come up with the criteria, I believe. Staff need to do that and bring that back to us, and
Okay.
we need to decide that that's a good method of distributing funds. And that's with all the spending, even like business, I think the initial plan was to give, say, $500 a business, but how they qualify is just the first 100 and say I want help or
Can't do
whatever.
that. It has to be criteria.
Okay, I added business, so I got home repairs and incentive programs, infrastructure, COVID-related management, marina, campground, businesses. Anything else you
Is
guys?
the home improvement, is that an ARPA qualified expenditure?
Yes. That's why I just said repairs, or I mean, we spend all kind of things. It's up to how the commission wants to do it, so.
That's where the partnership with Habitat will help out.
Okay, so, all right, we will get working on the criterion and outline of these 5 items.
And while we're speaking of ARPA, have we conferred with the city attorney and or our consultant attorney on the ARPA funding to make sure what we're planning on doing is able to be done? I know now the funding for those housing improvement and some other things that the ARPA committee wanted done, she have given a nod saying that those are things that can be legitimately funded with ARPA money. And I mentioned just in one of our one-on-one with you, even with the PBSO, can you prepay for law services under ARPA? You know, make sure whatever we do, I know there's some category where you can, certain things that can be paid through for our law enforcement, but some things there's a red flag, and I just want to make sure we don't fund stuff in a way that we're gonna be cited in the future for it or have to pay back certain monies. So I'm just making sure we cover ourselves on those items.
Okay, I will get with both attorneys. I already have a meeting planned with Gemma for tomorrow. And then I have to get on Miss Bernadette's schedule. All right, so just moving along. Last report, city audit starts up December 5th for our 2021 21-22 audit. The Inspector General, they're still ongoing. They just asked for a lot of things just recently, so the investigation is ongoing. Hopefully, in the next couple of months, it will wind down with the Inspector General. With the marina, we are pending putting out a bid for a surveyor and mapping company to complete a new boundary map of the marina and campground and complete our cycle of estimates to replace docks D, E, and F, as well as other critical repairs and replacement. The ARPA update we'll do at the, we'll bring the email back to you as we talked about. Ms. Boulay has already spoke with you on the update of the city projects. Staff is working on the following contracts: negotiating with Everglade Prep Academy on a contract extension, scheduling a meeting with the Muck Tavern management to review the lease, discuss policy and procedures of the facility for property usage, corporate sponsorship, and public-private partnership. Working on CAP government contract, working on COVID-19 policy to add to the city's personnel and regulation handbook, to amend the policy language to allow up to 10 days off for COVID-related sickness for employees. As you guys already know, that we had minimum damage from Hurricane Ian. Just a reminder that November 8th is Election Day. Our meeting has been moved to November 7th. We also, as I look ahead, November 22nd and December 27th. Do we want to have a commission meeting on either one of those days? Like that's the 26th is, I guess we have that holiday on Monday. So do we want to cancel the December 27th, or you want to move it? And then November 22nd, that's right before Wednesday, Thursday of Thanksgiving. So didn't know what you guys wanted to do.
I think if we cancel one, it should probably be the one in December and try to rearrange a mutual agreed date for the November commission meeting. I would hate to try to cancel two commission meetings in 2 consecutive months.
Okay. All right, so. All right, so you want to keep the 22nd one? And then cancel the December 27th?
If that's the commission concurrence with it. But that's what I would
When's
suggest.
Thanksgiving? The 24th?
Yeah.
What day of the week is that? Thursday?
Yeah, it's Thursday, that's the week out.
It's okay, I know.
So, yeah. Or do you want me to move the meeting to Monday, the 21st?
It's okay with me.
So we moved this one to Monday, and then this one's here, which is Tuesday.
I think let's be consistent. I mean, it's already scheduled, and it's not gonna be that much interfering with Thanksgiving unless folks, commission talk about going out of town and not being available, but yeah, I think we should stick with the same Tuesday, just
All right, sir.
continue with that.
Move it to Monday.
Huh?
Move it to Monday.
But what help gonna, if just another day is gonna help us? I'm looking out for the resident and the public. They're so consistent with the second and fourth Tuesday. If we change to Monday to help us, how much is helping us?
Yeah, but
by
I'm saying,
changing it?
maybe some family members wanna leave the area early to go
That's
to
what I'm
family
saying. Are
members.
you leaving? I'm just trying
I'm
to get.
just saying, the public.
Oh, the
themselves.
public
The
itself.
may wanna attend.
All right, no problem. And then, you already heard the events, and Veterans Day, City Hall will be closed on that day. Also, the Muck Tavern will have a soft opening this Saturday and Sunday.
This Saturday, next Saturday.
So, yeah, this Saturday, they will have a ribbon cutting event, will be a private event for VIP guests for a soft opening, and then Sunday, the 30th, they will start opening. They want to run from 4 p.m. to 11 p.m. In their soft opening, and then moving forward, they want to continue the soft opening for the next 2 weeks, and allow the community time to get acquainted with their menu.
Very good.
I have a question. You mentioned something about a public-private partnership. What are you talking about?
Well, the public-private partnership is in tandem with a company that there's gonna be a lot of events up there in their back door. They can maybe possibly underwrite things. Once I have the meeting, I'll bring back more.
So it's a public-private partnership with an outside entity?
I need to have one with a couple of your companies, ma'am. You know, public-private partnerships, things where sponsorship, corporate sponsorships, names on banners. I see a lot of lack of things, so I need people to step up. That concludes my report, sir.
Thank you. City Attorney report.
No report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. We'll move to the
Yeah.
commissioner comments. And we'll start with, let's see. We'll work ourselves from Commissioner Gonzalez to the right to Vice Mayor.
Okay, the mayor mentioned the amphitheater a moment ago. I'm glad he mentioned it because that's a project I've been working on for a little bit over a year. And I have contacted people in the state to try to make it happen. And there's a lot of red tape that we have to cross, and it's not as easy to do as to just say it, we're gonna do this. So yes, that's in the process. And I'm glad the mayor supports that. So hopefully sooner, somebody will give me a call and I'll do a follow-up on it, and hopefully they give me a call to lead me in the right direction to make this happen. So I want to say thank you.
Thank you. You can do a presentation. Okay.
We sorry, I didn't realize, I saw you had the shirt on, but I was like, oh, he just coming to join us, so I apologize.
USDA?
USDA.
BA.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
Small Business
We're gonna have them do a brief presentation before we continue further. You may step to the mic if you want to give us any updates, sir.
Good evening. Thank you for your time, first of all. So I just wanted to briefly discuss what the SBA is doing in Florida, and specifically in Palm Beach County.
Your name?
Huh?
Your name?
Sorry. My name is Andrew Toussaint, and my title is Public Affairs Specialist. So, in light of the damage from Hurricane Ian, the United States Small Business Administration is offering a low interest rate disaster loan for any homeowners, renters, small business owners, or private nonprofit organizations that were physically impacted by the hurricane. We are also offering an economic injury loan for any small businesses or private nonprofits that were financially impacted by the hurricane. Now, when I say financial impact, I mean, let's say a business lost power because of the hurricane. They had perishable inventory. That inventory had to be disposed of. That's a financial impact. Or let's say that because of damage to roads, customers couldn't come into a business for a certain amount of time. That would be financial impact. So, yeah, those are the two major loans we're offering. The other thing I'd want to note is the deadlines for those loans. For physical damage to a business or a home or to a renter's property, we want that application to be started by November 28th. For the economic injury loan, that loan application isn't due until June 29th of next year. And the reason for that discrepancy in deadlines is because financial impact is much harder to gauge than, say, physical damage to a building or property. Business could take several months to realize whether or not or how badly they were impacted financially. And again, these loans are for uninsured damage. Now, we do ask that if any homeowners or renters or business owners have damage to their property and they're not sure if their insurance is going to cover it, we strongly suggest they apply anyway, because if, say, a homeowner, for example, goes through the process of applying for a loan with us and their insurance ends up paying off, they're under no obligation to accept any loan that they're approved for from us. Or if their insurance only covers part of their damages, they can have the loan that we offer them reduced to only match what they need. We offer 3 ways for people to apply for these loans. The first is online at disasterloanassistance.sba.gov/ELA. The second way is by phone at 800-659-2955. And the third way is by going to either a business recovery center, which is run by SBA, or a disaster recovery center, which is run by FEMA, but where SBA personnel will be present. Unfortunately, as of now, there aren't really any business recovery centers or disaster recovery centers in Palm Beach County. The closest one that I know of is in Highlands County at the Highlands County Extension Office, which is where FEMA has set up a disaster recovery center, which, again, has SBA personnel present. All the information I've told you is probably on those documents that you're reading right now. I've also left some other SBA documentation for anyone that wants to grab one to look at it. Yeah, that's pretty much most of what I need to cover. The loan terms, as far as the repayment goes, the repayment period can be extended up to 30 years at a fixed rate. So there's no big financial burden to pay it back as soon as possible. And repayment doesn't usually start until about a year after the loan has been dispersed. So there's a period of time for a homeowner, a renter, or business owner to get their financial situation squared away before they have to start making payments. Are there any questions about any of this information?
Do you have any scope of what the actual damage was in our area?
I don't know the exact information. I've been told by some of my coworkers that the damage in Palm Beach County was the major damage in Palm Beach County, I should say, was situated more towards the coastal region, but I can't really verify how much of that is true.
Could you also let them know that the information is in Spanish as well?
Oh, yes. All of the paperwork that I brought in English and Spanish. So in case any residents prefer one language over the other, that would work for them. Are there any other questions that I can answer?
This is loan.
Right.
That's free money, loan.
No.
Gotta pay it back.
And you,
The way these disasters usually work is
Gotta pay it back.
people usually register with FEMA first, and
Right.
FEMA will offer grant money. But that grant money is normally just to get their housing situation safe, not necessarily anywhere like what it was before the disaster. They just want citizens to have a livable housing situation. Anything past that, it's either got to be insurance, or you have to take out a loan, or you have to figure out a way to pay for it on your own.
and this right here where it says no credit available, that's your percentage?
No credit. You're talking about the loan, where it lists the loan types and whatnot?
Right.
Yeah, that is the interest rate if there's no credit available. If credit is available elsewhere, then the interest rate's a little bit higher, except for the economic injury loans, which always have that specific interest rate.
Not bad.
Is it also in Creole? Are the documents
Pretty cheap.
translated in Creole?
Not that I mean, I can check and see if I can get other translations of the documents.
There's an extra one right there in front of Sarah.
No, Sarah.
Sarah, right there in front of Sarah.
Right here.
You said the other language you wanted in was
Creole.
Creole.
Creole. Yes.
Okay, I can definitely ask my team lead about getting these documents and that translation. Okay.
Okay, thank you. It's been live streamed so the public will be able to attain some of this information, and we'll make sure we continue to pass out any flyers that you left to the
All right.
community.
Thank you very much for your
Thank
time.
you. And we'll continue with commissioner comments, and
Ron.
we'll move now to Commissioner Bolden.
I don't really have a lot to say. Thinking about the ARPA though, one of the things that I have not heard yet is, and it's also in the final rule for eligible expenditures, is to deal with the mental health aspect of COVID. There is a portion in the final rule that even if someone had an existing mental health issue that could possibly have been exacerbated by experiences during COVID, there are funds set aside. There should be eligible funds set aside for that. Doesn't have to be a lot. The few people that I've spoken with, even through their jobs, at the most, they get about 3 sessions. And some people are gonna need more than that. They've had relatives, loved ones who've lost their lives. People have been through a lot, and I think they're gonna need more than 3 sessions. So even if we just set aside some funds for a short period of time, even maybe have a window, and if the money's not used by a certain time, then you can go ahead and put it somewhere else. But I think it would be good for some of our citizens to be able to get more sessions than 3. Another thing is for our seniors, we know a lot of times they spend a lot of time indoors, and sometimes the indoor environment can be even more toxic than outdoors. So I think we should probably, and I know a lot of them are not, up on processes in 2022. So I think it would be important to get their families involved, maybe their children involved, who can kind of help them through a process of improving the air quality in their homes, things like that. So the mental health aspect of it, setting aside money, and also setting aside money to improve air quality indoors, even at our senior facility. I think that would be a good thing for us to do. And like I said, we can have a window for them, and if they haven't taken advantage of it over a certain period of time, then just allow that money to be used for other things. That's it.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Perez? Vice Mayor Murray?
I just have one thing, in the list of the updates on projects, East Lake Village project. There was no update given on that one.
The contractor, well, the engineer, MDO, was at my office yesterday, and so he is talking to Ryle Bach. They are returning a updated scope list to me because prices have gone up, and then once I get that back, I can resubmit that to FDP.
Okay.
And quickly, the small grant, the NEAT grant from Glade Citizen Village, I know we've been discussing this for like 3 years. Where are we and what can we do to move that needle a little forward?
So once we identify some funds that I can do a match with, Coach Osborne and I had previously talked about doing the exercise equipment out there. As we said before, the area where we looked at putting the equipment at that park would have to be demucked. So it's paying for the demucking, and then we could put the equipment there.
Then we're gonna move real quick.
Glade Citizens Villa.
Yeah, some of the residents.
I have a question. I forgot.
Yeah, there's a park in Glade Citizens Villa. It's a small park. It doesn't have anything in there, but it is fenced in. And because it floods
It's
really
flooded.
bad in that area, we would have to deduct it
Off of
off
State
State
Market
Market
Road.
Road.
I have a question, Ms. Adams. Is the Veterans Memorial Park even talked about yet?
We have not talked about the veterans, you want the Commissioner's Park or identifying another park for veterans?
Right, something for the veterans.
Okay, we will move forward with that.
Appreciate
I'll talk
it.
to the city manager and we'll look into that.
Okay. The next topic is for the good of the order / future agenda item. Does the commission have any? And we'll start with Commissioner Gonzalez again.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Future agenda items or for the good of the order, if you had any announcement about events that happened that you want to.
No, I want to thank the committee and everybody who's involved in all these events that are coming up. Thank you for staying on board. Thank you for the transparency so we don't get days confused, and thank you for everything. And hopefully we can just keep working together and moving the city forward.
Okay. And I include myself in this item. Future agenda items. I would like to place on the agenda, if it's the consensus or the majority, the Centennial Committee to have a resolution that would make that a permanent city board to help with special events.
That's a
Again, the rationale was because the community is asking for additional activity and events. And that's a motion if I can get a second, and we'll take a vote. If it don't pass, then I
I'll second
respect that.
I'll second.
Okay. Been moved by the mayor and second by the vice mayor that we have our city attorney draft up a resolution trading a special event board as a permanent city board. It'll be similar to what the Centennial Committee does or do. If you want to call it Centennial, as a name for them, you can. but
Right.
It's really a special event.
Right, could we change the members every year, though?
Yeah, that's why I was suggesting at least every other year.
I mean, every
You
year will be,
wanna-
every year will be fine, because I'm pretty sure there's other people who want to participate.
The only
It won't be
reason I'm
fair to
kind
you.
of hesitant on that, normally all our boards, continued boards that kind of, they stay on, you appoint them every so many years.
Right.
But this committee, I believe, need at least have 2
2
years'
years.
experience to really grasp what they're doing and give better input. We can do it, I mean, it's up to the commission, we can do it every year if y'all want to, but I wouldn't suggest
these
that.
opportunities
The
for
only
others
reason
to
I don't agree
participate.
with that is because, first of all, we only have so many people anyway. Like I say, the best ability is sometimes availability. And, you know, even with the things that we do now, we end up with the same people on boards. So I don't really think it'll be effective to change it every year. However, I do think that when it comes down to things like Cinco de Mayo, I think you should reach out to people in the Hispanic community to lead the charge in that, and you know, kind of fall back and facilitate.
I agree with that.
I think it should be every year. I think if you don't have the same people in the committee, you're liable to get different people in the committee.
Same result, yeah.
It's always the same people and other people shy away.
But we only have so many people participating.
That really
Yeah,
participate.
and
2
most
years.
boards don't rotate every year, but as like I say, it's up to the commission as a whole, as a majority, whether you
Well,
want to do
you
that.
have the events.
Okay, so
You
there's a
have the
motion
same
on the
events
floor.
On a yearly basis, so.
So
yeah.
what's your motion, Mayor? Your motion is to have have the Centennial retained for like at least 2 years. That's the motion. I'm just asking, what's the motion?
Not the Centennial. He wants to have.
Make it as a permanent
special
board.
event
We'll just say a
board.
special event.
Or a special
committee.
event board
Yeah.
every 2 years. Okay.
And the reason, okay, we can amend or adjust that as time permit, but the city attorney have to have a little guidance on, are we planning on having a permanent board where people stay on until they replace or whatever, like we have with our Georgia boards? We had 2 people saying every year. I think that's too frequent to have board change over. but-
Here's the thing, we can do it every year, it's still gonna be
Well, let's give it a
most of
try.
the same people,
Let's
because
give it a try this
we
year.
can do it every year, that's
Let's
fine.
give it a try.
Okay.
What, just as a suggestion, what some cities do is they will do it for the term of the person appointing. And so when that term ends and you have a new person appointing, then, or you could do it as frequently, like if you wanted to, you could do it, you know, if you wanted to change your appointee, you could. But you could do it you would do it for the term of the person. So if somebody's term ends in 2 years, then the new person coming on will appoint somebody for that committee. That's just a suggestion.
If they all
That's a good
start at the same time, don't they all
Right.
expire at the same
How
time?
does Beverly do
No, you
theirs?
can have staggered boards, have staggered terms, appointment terms. So she's kind of
it's 9
amending it
o'clock.
against our term. If I have 2 years left on my term and I appoint somebody, then whenever my replacement come in, they have an opportunity to put someone in that position or keep the one that I had. They have that choice.
And if
Give
the-
them more cross, a variety of who's gonna be on that board. This current board, when this commission adopt this, if we adopt it, we will be appointing a special committee, a special board, so you have your votes, just like you had in the beginning. You can keep the person you did originally, or you can appoint somebody totally new.
Okay, to be clarified, to get some clarity on this, you're saying that each individual commissioner can appoint one person for their time as commissioner to be a part of that committee?
And the stipulation would be, or the exception would be if the person misses, let's say, 3 meetings in a row, or more than 4 meetings in a year, or, you know, something like that. But if they are showing participation and they're attending regularly, then you all retain the right to keep that person during your term or appoint someone else.
Is that how Belgrade does theirs?
I don't know how Belgrade does it, but I know other cities that do that with, with some
Yeah,
of the
'cause
boards.
I know Belgrade, some of the commissioners do their part to do the events which we haven't done. We let the committee do everything.
And you know, I'm gonna be honest, that came up a lot, but you got to make sure when we say, okay, the committee, ourselves gonna be doing these events, I don't think we didn't buy into that as a whole, to be honest. And that committee is residents, they're volunteering their time, they're just like any other board, so
Right, I mean,
the addition to them is a plus to me. It really is. No matter who's on the board, just to have a community group helping with our special events and making sure that they're recommending events that we can hold for our community
Right.
is a great incentive.
but could it be led by each commissioner?
No.
If I may, Mayor, the idea, all of these boards are advisory boards, so, whatever they come up with is going to come back to you all for a final. If they come up and they want to do a Halloween event and they need a budget for it, it's going to come back to, through management to you all in the form of a resolution, as this is a suggestion from the Halloween, to do this Halloween event from the Special Events Committee, and then you will decide whether or not. So it's just an advisory, just like anything else is advisory. So it wouldn't make sense for you to be on the board, because you're going to make the final decisions when those decisions come back anyway.
Because in fairness, the way Belgrade does it, they're very successful. I think we should just learn from them and do it their way. That's just my personal opinion.
The thing is the committee was supposed to be an advisory
Yeah,
committee, but
and they
there was
didn't.
no advice.
There was no advisory.
They came and told us the event.
Correct.
And they had $100,000 from the beginning, and they pretty much did their thing, and we heard about it when it was gonna happen and when after it happened.
That's also true.
So,
Well, that's not actually true, because they had meetings, and any commissioner could have got on the meetings that they had. But,
two of us are not supposed to be in the meeting together. That's
you're not
what I'm
voting. You could have been listening in on the Centennial Committee planning.
Vice Mayor.
But the thing, my question is, Attorney, why can't we just use it? We have an economic development board already that's not operational. Can that just be that board? Can we use that under that board? It's pretty much doing the same thing.
If that's what you choose, but I'd have to look back and see what it says.
I think this is a little different. Economic development really is getting the thing towards drawing the community, getting resources and money.
So you look at just special event, just a special
This
event.
is something, it's similar again to your centennial.
hard,
You would
yeah.
call that an economic development. So I think a separate committee, a separate board would be good.
Okay, that's the motion, let's vote.
Enough information is not a matter of not, we want to agree to this board being created.
Vice Mayor Mervin, now, I attended some of those meetings, and everything I went through just to get one thing approved. So,
Well, we're not going there, but yeah, there's a motion on the floor, Mayor.
Okay. In addition to question, hearing none, you ready for a vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mayor Bab,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mervin,
Yes.
Commissioner Bolden,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
which one are we voting on for?
The special committee board.
For 1 year, 2
Special
years,
event.
or just to put it on the agenda?
So I have the
Yeah.
motion that's have city attorney to draft up a resolution creating a special events board. Is that correct?
Okay, sis. Talking to you.
Just to create the board.
That's what you're voting
There's
on.
no specifics yet.
Well,
Okay.
well,
If she's
just,
gonna have to
I am
add
going to
some
put some of the
specific
things in that you all said you wanted to see in this resolution for your consideration at the next meeting. So I will be putting in what I'm hearing in that resolution.
So did we agree to 1 year?
So he was, the motion was 2 years.
Every year?
He said 2.
Did you
Yeah, I
want to
think
do
it
the
was
term of
based on
the,
our terms.
did you want to do the
Yeah,
term of
that'll be a
your,
little more consistent.
That'll be better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Commissioner,
Roll call, Madam Clerk?
okay, Mayor Bab,
Yes. I
Vice
think
Mayor
we
Mervin?
probably said
Yes.
it.
Commissioner Bolden,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Commissioner Perez.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commission. Motion passed by unanimous vote. And normally, as a mayor, I can do proclamations, and sometimes I do, but I just want to just add this to a future agenda item, which would be at our next commission meeting, to have a proclamation for Veteran Day and Purple Heart recipients.
That's good.
Veterans Day and Purple Heart, you said?
Recipients.
Do we know who the Purple Hearts are in the
I
community?
have a list of some of them, I don't know them all, but it won't list them, but any of them is here. We want to present it to them so they can have a reference of their Purple Heart proclamation.
You think it'd be too soon to do that at the Veterans Day?
Yeah, that would be read too, during Veterans Day also, yeah. Do I need to take I guess because it's future agenda and I throwed it out there as that, I'm gonna take a quick, vote on it. I make the motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, been moved by, Commissioner Gonzalez. Call for question. Hearing none. Ready for a vote, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mayor Bab,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Commissioner Bolden,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mervin,
Yes.
Commissioner Perez.
Yes.
Now we move to Commissioner Bolden. Do you have any
He did
feel-good
not.
items or future agenda recommendations? Thank you, sir. Commissioner Perez. Vice Mayor. Now I entertain a motion for the adjournment of this meeting.
So moved.
I motion to adjourn this meeting.
So
Been moved by the Vice Mayor Mervin and second by Commissioner Perez. Call for question. Hearing none, ready for a vote. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Vice Mayor Mervin,
Yes.
Commissioner Perez,
Yes.
Commissioner Bolden,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Mayor Bab.
Yes, meeting adjourned.